All right, let's answer more of your Team Delusional and Bethel questions. Here we go. Do you think Jadis/Anne is the closest and possibly only person to Team Family that Beth has come across while possibly searching for them? I honestly don't know. It depends on where Beth actually is. If she's in the CRM, there's a very good chance that she's come across Jadis, but we don't know that for sure. We don't know where she is. We don't know. She might have been in the CRM for a time and then left before Jadis came back in. I mean, we just have no idea where she is or what the timeline is. So I can't really answer that. But I think it would be interesting if she'd come across Jadis. I don't know. Overall, I think Jadis is going to be more wrapped up in Rick's storyline. But again, we don't know for sure. Good question, though. Have you ever bought into the rumors that Beth dying was an executive decision by the network that put a wrench in her story in season 5? It would make sense since so much of what we didn't see got scrapped. But I mean, AMC is so cheap, I don't know if they would want to risk losing so much money or fans who are willing to give them money. No, I've never bought into that. We've actually pretty well proven that it's a lie. And understand that it's two different things. Proving that it's a lie is not exactly the same as proving that she's alive and coming back. But if they're lying about it, why would they do that? You know what I mean? There's no reason to do that if she truly is dead and not coming back. So, and I'm sure you guys are asking, how have we proven it? Because mostly through the symbolism and stuff that was put in earlier that foreshadowed. So there's a really obvious shot in still where her and Daryl are walking around the golf club and she walks into a mannequin arm and she just kind of, gasps and goes, and then she just looked down and she had bumped this mannequin arm. But the arm is laid out exactly the way they show her arm after she gets shot and falls in Coda. So that was a foreshadow of Coda, that she was going to be shot. And they already even knew that they were going to show her arm that way. So if they already knew that, then they already knew what was going to happen in 508. So there's no way they just suddenly decided to kill her off in 507. You know what I mean? It's things like that. We can see that that was a lie. Now, does it automatically prove that she's coming back? No, but I don't see any other reason for them to lie about that other than that it's one great big fake out. So no, I've never bought into those rumors. I don't think they're true at all. And I think that, people keep talking about her not getting a very big send-off. And, there was a lot of ways that people thought and would say that AMC did her dirty or whatever the case may be. And I don't think that is the case. I think the reason she didn't get those things is because they always knew she was coming back. So that's my take on that. Thank you for the question. I was rewatching Still, and when they were in that golf club, there was a scene of Beth holding the spoon with Washington, D.C. Capitol, or something written on it. Is there some hidden meaning behind that, or did I miss something? Because we know Eugene and co. were supposed to go there, but then Eugene fessed everything up, so I'm kind of confused. I do believe that it was foreshadowing of the rest of the group going to D.C., but the odd thing about that is that you would think if that was the case that it would have been Daryl who picked it up, because Beth didn't actually go to D.C. that we saw. Only Daryl did. So it was odd to have that symbolism with her, and the only thing that we can think of is it means that she is going to show up there at some point. The spoon is kind of its own thing, the fact that it was a spoon and not something else, not like a picture or a postcard or anything like that. So the spoon symbolism, I think, applies to Beth specifically. And we think it ties into like the Little Dipper and Big Dipper symbolism, which is part of the Sirius and all of the cosmology symbolism that they use. So I don't know other than that, because it's just going to depend on where she shows up. But the Capitol building, too, is a seat of government. And we've seen a lot of symbolism for different wars, revolutions, and that has a lot to do with the CRM war. So I also think it's very possible that it was a foreshadow of her returning during the CRM storyline. But again, that's all conjecture. We're not sure yet, and it's going to be hard to know for sure until we, actually see what's going to happen. But that's kind of where our thoughts are along those lines. So hopefully that helps. Okay, next one. So this ad popped up like twice in my IG stories first, and then I was watching random reels. I think it's normal that she's promoting her music, but I'm still side-eyeing hard, featuring the new single B or C for Effort. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about how The strange thing about BRC for effort is that Emily tried to say it was a near-death experience, and there's nothing really obvious in the music video that shows that it's a near-death experience. It really does look like a dream. So we feel like she's hinting at things there, and of course in the lyrics, and there are some imagery that we could definitely tie to Team Delusional imagery, but it's kind of neither here nor there. But I think it's pretty normal for Instagram to pop this kind of stuff up for anyone who follows Emily, because it's the kind of thing that they think, the algorithm, because it knows what you look at and it knows what you click on, will think that this is something that you will like. But it's always kind of fun to see. And yeah, I agree. It's hard not to side-eye it when it comes out. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, this one's a long one. Hi there. I want to thank you all, TD theorists, for being so positive overall. You guys just give me good vibes and inspiration by how clever you guys are. Thank you on behalf of everyone. Anyway, I'm a lurker and I see perspective from all sorts of TWD fans all over social media. Just gotta say, I ain't coming back to the other ships. I hope y'all know who I'm referring to, haha. Yes, I think we all do. Tags, the amount of shade they throw toward TWD is honestly so confounding to me because I don't see anything wrong with the characters or the story. It's a little slow in terms of pacing, yeah, but I honestly love the intimate way they go about it. I hope that makes sense. It does. It does. They're saying how sad they are for Daryl, but I think anyone who have witnessed the entitlement they continuously expressed throughout the years is only because they are constantly not getting what they want from the main show and to this current spinoff. It makes me feel like Daryl would be a nothing sort of a worthy character to them without that other character. And now it makes me so sad for Daryl. Anyway, haha, I'm just happy that a lot of people, not those shippers, are liking the spinoff and actually appreciate the tone that writers and director are setting. Also, just to throw away, I saw a post days ago about how the writers owe them after years of waiting for that ship to be canon. Like, what? They don't owe you anything, baby girl. You decided to watch this particular series with the expectation that you'll follow the plot, not the other way around. That's called fan service. I know, not everyone involved before did everything right, see Beth Arc, but I don't see anyone in TD community actually demanding anything the way they do. Sorry if I'm dumping this on you, haha. I have no friends who watch TWD so religiously like I've always had. And by the way, kudos to the theories. I didn't used to see it before from the main show, but it seems all the symbolism are so apparent now. Even the airhead that I am are seeing it. LOL. I love you guys. Yeah, I love you too. And I totally get where you're coming from here. I mean, me and my fellow theorists, we talk about this all the time, about how that other ship, it's just like they don't actually like the show, and they don't actually like Daryl all that much, and they certainly don't like Norman all that much. I mean, this we could trace this all the way back to season 4 when it was that ship who started calling Beth and Daryl a pedophilia thing. And it's like, even if you really were not okay with the age gap, like, okay, maybe that's kind of a personal preference. She was 18, so it legally was not pedophilia. But even if you were not okay with that, if this is a character, Daryl is a character that you know and love and want him to be with that female character you love, why on earth would you call him a pedophile? Like, that does not make any sense at all that you would spread that around. And so you're right that the only reason they did it is because they wanted to get their way. And so they were throwing shade at the ship. But it's like they don't understand that they're hating on their own ship by doing that. It's like, okay, if you really think he's a pedophile, why would you want him to be with Carol? Why would you want anybody to be with someone you like who is that way? You know what I mean? It just, yeah, totally. And they do. They throw a lot of shade at the show. They're very entitled. They think that the show owes them something. So yeah, I think you laid it out perfectly here, and I am 100% with you. To be fair, I do want to be fair. There are some people who ship that ship who are perfectly lovely, nice, wonderful people. They generally are not online. But I have talked to a few of them who say that they, people who do ship Daryl and Carol, but they say they stay away from the fandom for that ship because it's so toxic. And they just say, oh, those people give us all a bad name. Like, I would never do or say the things they do. I just liked Daryl and Carol together, that's all. And that's perfectly okay. I mean, ship and let ship, and everyone has their own preferences for things. But yeah, it's just amazing the amount of toxicity that is in that fandom. And I'm so glad that our fandom, while I'm sure we have a few toxic members here and there, I mean, everybody does, I'm glad that ours, for the most part, is much more positive and hopeful and just decent on a human level to each other and to everyone else. So thank you for saying that. I think it does need to be said every once in a while, and you're totally not dumping on us. I think most people feel the way that you feel. And so it just needs to be said every once in a while. So thank you for saying it and for sending that in. And I'm so glad that you're with our fandom and our ship and not anybody else's. Of course, that's a little self-serving on my part, but it's still the truth. All right, let's go on to the next one. Where are we at? Okay. Hi there. If all Beth Green theories turn out to be true, why do you think it's taken so much time for them to finally resurrect her? And how does Paris fit into the whole picture? Thank you. I kind of answered this the other day. Sorry, I don't always go through and put the same questions together, but I think it's just a matter of the stories took a little longer to tell than they thought. It kind of got a little bit elongated. I mean, I can tell you as somebody who writes my own fiction that you start to get ideas and you start to go in different directions and then everything just expands beyond what the more simple plot was when you began. That's very, very common for creators. So it's going to get a little bigger. It's going to take a little longer than usual. And then, of course, you have COVID thrown in where everything got shut down. So things just change and they just kind of have to roll with the punches. There's also the fact that, the streaming, the technology changed. And when streaming technology changed, they had to change their contracts. They had to shut down the main show and create a new show. And that just takes time. It takes a lot of, figuring out the production side of things. So it just takes a while. That's all. And it's not a great answer, but it really is the truth. It's just the real world pushing back, and, so I don't know beyond that anything more specific. That's just my best guess. As for how Paris fits in, I think that they chose France, and I kind of said this in my last video analysis. They chose it because the original mythology for the show had Dr. Jenner in the pilot episode, not in the pilot episode, in the first season when they all went to the CDC. It had him talking about France and how people in France were kind of on the front lines. And so I think that's why they chose France for Daryl to go there. It's a way to give us the origin story of the virus. So I'm interested to see where they go with it. But I think it has to do with that. So, yes, thank you for the question. All right. Hi. One for the Daily asks, please can you talk about the moon symbolism in TWD, the partial moon, and then other times we see a full moon. What does it all mean? P.S. Living for the YouTube videos. Thank you. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. Man, I don't know if I have a whole lot to say about the moon symbolism. I mean, it's like there's a ton to say because moon symbolism is present in every culture in the world throughout history. But at the same time, we haven't really pinned down exactly how they're using it. So we did see the partial moon in Still, and so any kind of moon stuff, anytime we see it or hear it or see it as a word or any kind of imagery, we do kind of relate it to Beth's story. And I think that you could argue, just because they show a moon, I mean, don't they ever show moons around other characters? They might, but we don't notice them very often. I mean, honestly, it would be very different if every single time they had a night scene, it showed a moon. Then we couldn't really say that it means something about Beth more than any other character, but they really don't do that. Now, the other reason that I think we're really validated in thinking that the moon symbolism is about her is because when you had Beta in the show, and remember he was called Half Moon, and he was a singer, and there was so much Beth symbolism around him and the fact that he was a singer, and like when it played his songs and the words to his songs, and Emily actually recorded one of the songs that he then sang in the show. I mean, it was so obvious the ties there. So I do think the moon symbolism is about her. And what does it mean exactly? Well, that's what we aren't sure of. Is it just something to always put in to tie the symbolism together? Maybe. We've seen the wolf symbolism around her for sure, and wolves howl at the moon, right? So you can look up what does the moon symbolize? Well, there are phases of the moon. It waxes and wanes. It goes away and comes back. It moves away from the earth and then toward it. I mean, you could pick whichever one you want, and you could probably make it work. So we're not really sure how they're using it, but we do know that they do show it over and over again. And usually when we see the moon symbolism, there's a lot of Beth symbolism around it or tied into it. Just the fact that it's an astrological entity could be the whole thing too, because they use Sirius symbolism, which is a constellation, So pick your poison. I think I've done a few posts about it. I'll see if I can find them. But again, it's just something that we always see and comment on, but we haven't really nailed down exactly what it means. I don't know. I'm just thinking that if you always see the moon at night, it could represent the coming death, but then the moon goes away and the resurrection tends to happen with the morning. So it could be something in that too. But we just don't know. Anything we say would be conjecture. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but we're just not sure yet. We're still keeping an eye on things and hoping that it becomes more clear. And so, all right, next one. I've been watching and listening to your episodes and Ask videos. First, just want to say they make it very convenient to listen to them while at work when I'm not able to read through everything. Oh, good. I'm glad. This is not really a question, more of an observation and comment to what you've talked about. This is going back to episode 4's opening scene. When I first saw this scene and that it was a dream, I immediately thought it was a way to show that unconsciously Daryl is starting to have some faith. Something, or maybe he should start believing. Maybe he's starting to give into this belief that the nuns and the other believers have of Laurent. Since Beth is linked with faith and belief, I just saw this scene as more of Daryl's mind telling him he needs to have more faith. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. And I think that he'll come to a place where he has faith, and only after that will Beth finally cross paths with him again. So yeah, I think that's a great interpretation, and I really like that. And I thought it was super intriguing. I mean, I talked about this before, but so many of the reviewers thought it was like way stupid, and that just kind of made me laugh because it wasn't even real. Like it was something he dreamed, and I mean, you could say it was a vision in a way. That really was a near-death experience because he was underwater. I can imagine waking up underwater. But yeah, absolutely. I think it has everything to do with his faith and his subconscious mind trying to tell him stuff, So yeah, absolutely. I really like that. So thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. Okay, I'm going to call it there for today, but I will be back tomorrow with more questions and answers, okay? Everyone have a fabulous day.